All America, all the time. Sit down, buckle up, and get ready for the Dan Bongino Show.
So yesterday after the show, I'm sitting here chatting with Justin, and he says, well, you know, what do you want to title tomorrow's show? And I said, well, we had just learned through the news reports, David Spunt on Fox, which I'll play in a minute, about an indictment of Jim Comey, which we were assured, correct, guys, was not happening. The Doomers told us, right? They said that, right? They told us it wasn't happening. There was nothing that was being done about it, whatever. So I said, well, Justin, you should title the show, It's Happening Again. And he said, well, we got a problem. Because the last time they said nothing was happening and something happened, you titled the show, It's Happening Again. So he said, well, what do you want to title tomorrow's show? Because we can't have the same title. I said, we should title it, It's Happening Again. And I was kind of laughing, kidding. He said, actually, I think that's a good title. Hence the title of today's show. Folks, listen, I promise you, you are in no way obligated in this beautiful representative democracy, this capital R republic, to love me, hate me. You can listen in, not listen in. I love doing the show. I'm here no matter what. I'm just saying at some point, if you're one of the doomers that's constantly saying X isn't happening and X happens, you have to tell your own audience, not me, why you keep lying. Because once it's happened, it's in the past, meaning it happened. So it's hard to say it didn't happen when it happened. You don't even have to like what happened. I'm telling you, man, these guys just want you to lose so bad. Thank you. Is it A. Fair Kelly in the chat said, loved your interview. Hold on, let me check this out. Man, that chat is really moving. I held it. I put it on like a little pause, and there's already probably 500 more chats in there. Thank you. A. Fair Kelly said, I really enjoyed your hangout with Sean Hannity on his Hangout with Hannity podcast. I told you it was long. It was like 2 hours. I have a clip from it, generated a lot of buzz. I was as serious as a heart attack talking about what's going to happen next. So, well, thank you guys in the chat. We love you all. We really appreciate it. So it is happening. You saw the Jim Comey indictment yesterday. I'll discuss it. The man is entitled to his day in court like everyone else. However, all I can speak about being on the outside now is there's a Federal Bureau of Investigations that does investigations. Once they're done, they're handed over to prosecutors, and then it's in the court of law by a jury of peers, or there's a plea deal, or we'll see what happens. But I'm going to give you a fair take on all of this, okay? So don't go anywhere. Got a lot to talk about, including the COVID case that came out yesterday, which we were assured wasn't happening. That's happening too. Folks, need medications without the hassle? Go to my friends at allfamilypharmacy.com/Bongino for over 400 options, including NAD, which I love, antibiotics for an emergency, antivirals, and ivermectin. Don't wait. Save 10% with code Bongino10. Prescription required and provided if appropriate. Thank you, All Family Pharmacy. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Patriot Mobile, my favorite mobile service. I've been relying on them more and more and more. America's about to celebrate its 250th, and the direction of the country is being decided right now. For the culture, the economy, all of it, and whom we choose to support matters more than ever. Support companies that support you, not companies that hate you. I'm going to tell you a company that loves you. Patriot Mobile, they're different. Most wireless companies don't care about who you are, what you believe. Patriot Mobile isn't like that. They don't just want your money. They want to support what we believe in. For more than 12 years, they've stood with Americans who believe freedom is worth defending, supporting the Christian conservative movement when others stayed quiet. That's a fact. And here's the deal. You don't have to give up quality or service when you switch to Patriot Mobile. Contraire, they deliver excellent premium priority access on all three major U.S. networks. I use them, so you'll get the same or better coverage than you have today. You think switching's a hassle? It is not. Paula switched both of our phones in maybe 5 minutes, and that may be overestimating it. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Their 100% U.S.-based customer support team will activate you in minutes like that. Still paying off a device? No problem. Patriot Mobile even offers a contract buyout. This is a defining year. We got to work together to save our glorious country. Go to patriotmobile.com/Dan or call 972-PATRIOT. Use promo code Dan, my first name, for a free month of service. That's patriotmobile.com/Dan or call 972-PATRIOT and make that switch today to Patriot Mobile. All right, fellas, let's go. So things are happening again. You're not obligated to like them. You're entitled to your opinion about them. However, yesterday as we were leaving, it's happening again on the way. Did you arrange those seashells? Wow, Andy took a lot of time. He was out at Stewart Beach this morning. Andy's saying he did not, in fact, he did not arrange those, that he was walking down Stewart Beach, Bathtub Beach, as a matter of fact, to be precise. He was getting a little morning sun, and I did not know this was in the show. And just ironically, he felt very good, guys. You guys are quite humorous this morning. Very good. It's happening again. So as we were leaving yesterday, I saw this Fox News report break by David Spunt, and this is what happened. In case you missed it yesterday, ICYMI. Check this out.
Has indicted former FBI Director James Comey for a second time.
John, they're going at it again, not even a year after they went at it after the first time. We're told this via several law enforcement sources. We're told this is related to an Instagram post from the former FBI director last year when he posted on the beach. You may remember there was a formation of shells that said 8647 that were in that pairing of 8647, and he said something along the lines of, "Isn't this a curious formation that I just found while walking on the beach?" Well, critics to that post immediately pointed out that 86, at least in the restaurant world, means to get rid of or to kill something from a menu, 47 meaning the 47th president of the United States. So Comey did speak with the Secret Service, did speak with federal investigators. At the time he was interviewed last spring or early last summer, shortly after that happened, no charges were ever filed, but now it appears that he has been indicted today. We're working to learn more about the indictment. We're waiting to see if officials have anything to say on this. That is the post that you see right there, "Cool shell formation on my beach walk," from former Director James Comey. Now, you also remember that he was indicted last year as well for allegedly lying to Congress.
I'm just, again, we even have, doomers in our own chat. There's a NBady62 is like, nothing's going to happen. All right, whatever, man. Listen, you just do your thing, brother. I'm glad to have you here. You're happy to watch your show. I can't help you, okay? It doesn't matter, forget it. We're good. We're good. Yes, you're whatever, brother. Or sister, whoever you are. The acting attorney general, Todd Blanche, gave an excellent interview this morning on this. And he was explaining how in this environment where the president has been shot, people have been killed, he has been attacked multiple times, there have been multiple assassination attempts. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a portfolio, I promise you, of assassinations being planned and that have been planned about the president by foreign actors, people trying to kill the president, that doesn't even make it out into the public. This is easily the most threatened man on earth. Why you would think it was appropriate as a former FBI director to do something like this, I don't know. I don't think it's funny. I don't know. Wow, look what I found on the beach. I found a bunch of seashells. I don't get it. I don't know why you would. I don't know. I remember the morning I was in the office. I'd gotten in early, and I'm sitting there, and I'm looking around at the team like, I really can't believe this happened. Like, it sounded so ridiculous. It sounded ridiculous. Here was the acting attorney general this morning making a really good point that, folks, if there are no investigations for threats, and we'll see if it was knowing and willingly and all the elements of Title 18, USC 871, which was the charge, threats against the president, he'll have his day in court. He'll have his ability to explain in front of a judge why he did this or whatever, what his mens rea was. He'll have his day in court, and he's entitled to that. However, there is zero doubt that these threats against the president, implied or otherwise, are to be investigated, because then you give everybody the imprimatur of okay, permission, like this is good to go. This is why we don't do it. Here's Todd Blanche, the acting attorney general. Sorry for that stumble over the words there. I'm really passionate about this, having been a protective intelligence agent for a long time. I don't think you guys understand when stuff like this happens, people take this as a license to go and do things. Here's Todd Blanche explaining this morning in a really good interview he did on, I believe, CBS. Check this out.
Anybody in this country thinks, especially what happened over the past couple of years with respect to President Trump, that it is okay for anybody to threaten the president of the United States, that it is okay to threaten the president of the United States and then have the media or others say, well, that's not serious, then we have a bigger problem than I even imagined in this country. Of course it's serious when you threaten the president of the United States, and anybody that tries to put forward some narrative that this is just about seashells or something to the contrary is missing the point. You cannot threaten the president of the United States. That's not my decision. That's Congress's decision in a law that they passed. And so, yes, of course this is a serious case.
The acting AG Blanche they're just motoring along now. A lot of these investigations have been going on for a long time. He said it this morning. They're not new. But you got to remember how the federal government law enforcement process works. Again, I don't want to sound like an ass here explaining the obvious, but there are some people, especially the doomers, who pretend to not get this. You know, there is an investigative branch. There's the FBI, there's the DEA in drug cases, there's the ATF, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, investigations that involve those items. And then those are handed off to the United States Attorney. The United States Attorney in that specific district there, that specific circuit, works for the DOJ, the Attorney General. And then those cases are prosecuted using the investigative material compiled during the investigation. I get it. This is not Charlie Brown Encyclopedia 101, but people pretend to not understand this. Now it's in the hands of the people in the justice system. It's out of their hands now. And he will have his day in court. I saw some commentary on this yesterday on social media I thought was interesting. The case obviously sparked a huge discussion on, and this will be played out in the public space, over is Comey going to claim this is, First Amendment? He's joking around. Well, Jim Comey responded. I'll put up those tweets in a second, but I think it's only fair to put out his response to it, to hear what he had to say about it. I assume, given that Jim Comey is a lawyer himself, that this is what he's going to tell his lawyers in this case. Here's Comey's brief response he put out there, and there's an implication here that this was somehow political targeting. I'll put up some tweets afterwards that I think make the exact opposite argument. Check this out.
Well, they're back. This time about a picture of seashells on a North Carolina beach a year ago. And this won't be the end of it. But nothing has changed with me. I'm still innocent. I'm still not afraid. And I still believe in the independent federal judiciary. So let's go. But it's really important that all of us remember this is not who we are as a country. This is not how the Department of Justice is supposed to be. And the good news is we get closer every day to restoring those values. Keep the faith.
Folks, the sanctimony here is deeply troubling. I mean, this is a man who lorded over an FBI. I saw the information. A lot of it is already in the public space. This is a man who lorded over an FBI that manipulated a secret court system, lied about things in order to selectively prosecute President Trump. This was a justice system, a civil system at the state level, a criminal system at the state and federal level that practically invented crimes. It's way above and beyond Jim Comey, but talk about this is not who we are as a country after who we are as a country in his eyes is prosecuting Donald Trump civilly in a court system in New York on a fraud violation case with no victims, no fraud, and the so-called victims in the case, the bank going up there and going, we're not victims. That's the link. Sorry, someone put a tweet about the link to the Hannity show. Catherine Herridge had some thoughts on this. She's an excellent reporter. She put them out on X. She looked at the indictment. It's, as I said before, 18 USCs for United States Code, 871, threats against the president, charge I'm very familiar with. We use it all the time in the Secret Service. And she notes at the end that Comey's decision to later delete the Instagram post could be interpreted as consciousness of guilt behavior. Again, we'll see. We'll see if he makes that argument to his legal team or not, or if the prosecution makes that. But I saw another interesting tweet, because this is how I want to make a tie-in here between the actions of this FBI when I was there and when I'm gone. Obviously, been gone for a few months, so this was not my case. However, this is fascinating. The Comey-era FBI had to manipulate a FISA secret court system using an entirely fabricated dossier of things that never happened, the alleged PP tape and all this stuff, to engage in a lengthy investigative process against Donald Trump. None of that happened in this case. No one's disputing that these seashells were on the beach. How they got there, they can air that out in court. Also, no one's disputing Jim Comey thought it was a good idea to post this and make some kind of a joke about it. He posted it. Those facts are not, no one hijacked his account. Christopher Steele did not hijack his Instagram account. Correct, fellas? I'm not missing anything, right? He's already admitted to doing it. The only question here is going to be intent, and he'll have his day in court. This is my point here. This guy, Jay Town, has a great X account. Jay Town, Alabama. He says, before the legal pundits claim the indictment against Comey is flawed, keep in mind a few things. It was presented to a grand jury, not like a FISA court. Professional prosecutors obviously disagreed that the case was flawed. They wouldn't have brought it. DOJ and DAG Todd Blanche, now acting attorney general, disagree. They brought the case too. Notes Comey made many inconsistent statements about what he thought the shells meant. And non-public evidence, it's not public to me either, exists to prove that Comey knew what 8647 meant. Nobody had to make anything up, folks. I just want you to keep that in mind. So when you hear things like, this isn't who we are, this isn't the justice system, we didn't have to go to a FISA court. We have to make up a dossier. We have to flush the dossier and launder the dossier through the State Department, DOJ, avoid proper Five Eyes channels. None of that happened here. Is that who we are? I'm asking you to paint a picture in your head of contrasts. These people on the left and these media pundits trashing the case already before it's even had its day in court, the doomers as well, are telling you that exact thing. This isn't who we are, as if Comey and his FBI and the Wray era FBI with politically oriented prosecutions, that's who we are? The facts of the case aren't in dispute. He made the Instagram post. We didn't make it up. It didn't show up in a dossier. It wasn't flushed through the State Department somewhere. He put it out there. Folks, I can't emphasize this enough. This is the part of and thank you for all the commentary, again, about the hangout with Hannity. I had a really good time, but this is the piece of the show that the clip. Oh, wait, hold on. Breaking news here. Sorry, guys, for those watching live. Supreme Court strikes down Louisiana's second majority black congressional district. Okay, so we get some ramifications will come from that on gerrymandering, the VRA, and also that just happened now. There's some Supreme Court case. We may get a ruling on TPS today, too. You see that right in the background? You never dispute the show is live, right? You don't see the earpiece in the back of my It's also why I can't hear anything out of my right ear. I've had an earpiece in my ear between Secret Service and this for like 20 plus years of my life. Getting back to what I was talking about. I brought this up on the Hannity hit, and it went kind of nuclear. And I had mentioned something to Sean about these two FBIs and how I know what I was getting into. It's a 2-hour conversation. As you can see, there's a lot of smiles, a lot of joy, but there's a lot of sadness in it because I know when the left takes charge of government again, they're going to go back to that who we are stuff. Who we are. They're going to go back to weaponizing the mechanisms of government to politically prosecute people. And I know for a fact we didn't do any of that. So this happened, and a couple of headlines I saw yesterday were like, wow, he's not messing around. Check this out.
I don't think I ever thought I'd hear Dan Bongino use the word scared, because that's not in your nature. Your whole life, everything you've done in your whole life has been embracing risk. You embody courage. Well, let me ask this question.
Wait, you think like you start thinking weird things because they're coming for you. You just know it.
Because
Like
they know you know.
I have the other day, I have like,
So either you're paranoid and you're not.
when my wife built the house, I asked her for one thing. I'm like, can you just get me one of those cool, like, overhead shower things? Like, you do whatever you want with the house. Like, they got me. But this is funny. I love this overhead. I don't care about anything else. I'm like, do what you want with the kitchen. Put a gym there. I don't
A lot
care.
of volume, a lot of water.
Just send water on me. It's the weirdest thing. And this just goes to show you how crazy you get in your head. The other day, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I had just gotten out of cold plunge and freeze. I'm like, gosh, this warm water feels so good. And again, switching back to serious, Dan, I'm like, I'll probably be in some federal prison with some, that's what comes to my mind every day. Like, I live like this the rest of my life because I know how they are. Yeah, man. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I knew what I was signing up for, but, you know, I think about that all the time. I knew exactly what I was getting into. I love what we did there. I'm proud of my service, proud of the president, proud of Cash, proud of the DOJ and what we did. And now you're seeing a lot of it. I mean, just the last few days have been just a tidal wave of things you were told weren't happening that happened. The Southern Poverty Law Center. You saw all the Minnesota 22 search warrants for the Minnesota fraud case. That's been ongoing since I was here. There were already something like 70 convictions in that case. Convictions have been going on forever, that fraud case. It's not new. I'm happy about the work journalists did in Minnesota, but that case was going on for a long time. The journalists brought some extra, public exposure to it, and that's great, but that was going on for a long time. You have the COVID case yesterday I'll get to in a minute. You got the Comey stuff. I mean, this was all happening for a while, but I fully understand what we were getting into. Anyone who had anything to do with reforming the government and getting it back to being anchored to a constitutional shoreline, anyone is going to become the target of a weaponized left the second they get back in charge. And don't have a single shred of doubt in your brain about that. That's just who they are. How do I know that? Because this is some of the people who were running the government before who will probably be back. The great Maze Moore on X, one of my favorite accounts, put out this video yesterday. I want you to watch this. This goes to show you the hypocrisy of these people. This is Andrew Weissman. He worked on the Mueller investigation, pseudo investigation against Donald Trump because they really weren't investigating anything. They were just making things up. Weissman was a senior leader in the DOJ during the whole Russiagate scandal. Here's Andrew Weissman. First, if you're listening on Apple or Spotify and just audio, here's Weissman in the beginning talking about all of the targeted weaponized prosecutions against Donald Trump, saying like, oh, this wasn't selective prosecution. This is just us like upholding all these wonderful standards. And then I want you to listen on the back end of this, him talking about the prosecution of Comey. And notice how the tone changes, even though, again, I want you to keep in mind this contrast and do not forget this. They had to make things up, the dossier, and launder the information through improper channels and use a secret court to try to prosecute him. This stuff on the Comey case was posted by Comey. No one made it up. And he'll get his day in court. Check this out.
He is being treated no better or worse than anyone else. This is not selective prosecution. That this is not somebody who's singled out. That he is being treated just like anyone else. That is what it means to have a rule of law. That is what the Justice Department is really signaling and messaging here, is that everyone will be treated, as Merrick Garland has said, as, equally in this country. This is really a great day for America.
This is such a horrendous moment for the rule of law, for the Department of Justice, for the country writ large, being singled out for impermissible reasons. And so just because you did your job, but just because you referred the president or you opened an investigation into the president, those are not legitimate reasons to have a sort of tit for tat vindictive prosecution. Mm-hmm. This looks like it. The emperor has no clothes, that this is the abuse that it appears to be.
Folks, I listen to me, please. If I'm saying this enough, tell me in the chat, Dan, move on. I just need you to tattoo this on your cerebral cortex. Everything in the Comey case is out there in the public. It is a grand jury indictment you can read. It is not a secret court. And this case started because Jim Comey decided to post that on Instagram. We didn't make it up. We didn't pay someone to post it. There was no dossier it was found in. The Trump case was the exact opposite. It was so shitty, it was flushed through on a dossier on secret channels nobody would see through a secret court with made up information. So please stop the nonsense that this is who we are, this isn't who we are, that's who we are. I'll tell you who you were, we don't want to be ever again. Donald Trump didn't even get the opportunity to get his day in court because it was run through the FISA courts. Everything was done back channel. There's more big news yesterday. You had the COVID case, another case we were told wasn't happening, which, by the way, if you just would have done a modicum of homework, you would have known there's already been public reporting on these cases. It's not a mystery. They don't want you to know that. I'm going to show you some polling, too, showing you how the doom and gloom crowd and the liberal media are completely wrong. They're telling you it's over. Donald Trump sucks. They're telling you all this stuff. The polling doesn't indicate that at all. Folks, do not give up on the midterms, please. Quick break. I'll show you, I'll give you a quick update on the COVID case. I want to get to these polling numbers, and I got a lot more. Also, some new kind of better footage and some pictures of the attempted assassination this weekend of Trump and others at the Hilton come out. And I've got some questions and hopefully some solutions too, because anyone can complain. Folks, let's be honest. The cost of living isn't just high. It's exhausting sometimes. If you've been leaning on credit cards lately to cover the basics like groceries, gas, and utility bills, you're essentially paying a survival tax of 20% interest or more. My friends at American Financing have a better way. American Financing is helping homeowners tap into their equity to pay off high interest debt with mortgage rates currently in the fives. On average, American Financing is saving their customers $800 a month. That's nearly $10,000 a year. Back where it belongs, in your pocket, in your bank account. It takes just 10 minutes to find out what you can save with American Financing. There's no upfront fees, no obligation either to talk to a salary-based mortgage consultant. Here's the kicker. Start today, and you can even delay 2 mortgage payments. Big savings for y'all. American Financing is America's home for home loans. They've been with me for a long time. Go see how much money you can save. Go check it out. Give them a call. Here's the number. 888-994-7660. Write this down. That's 888-994-7660. Or you may want to visit them online. That's okay, too. It's a .net address, by the way. AmericanFinancing.net/Bongino. That's AmericanFinancing.net/Bongino. Thank you, American Financing. We appreciate it. All right, more things that have been happening since just this tidal wave of new prosecutions moving forward, investigations that have been ongoing for a long time. I'm quite familiar with a lot of them. We got the brief on them all the time. Here was some coverage yesterday of a case we were working on for a long time. It involved COVID. It involved information. It involved, according to the allegations, efforts to avoid records cases in this. Check this out. On the other side, I'll have some quick commentary on this. Take a look.
Top advisor to Dr. Anthony Fauci now facing criminal charges. This over an alleged cover-up involving research into the origins of COVID. Rich Edson on this story. Intriguing, Rich. What you find out there in Washington?
Yeah, it is, Bill. The Justice Department has charged David Morins, a doctor, with conspiracy, claiming he concealed federal records to counter evidence that COVID-19 may have leaked from a lab in China, all to help restore a controversial coronavirus grant. Morins, a former aide to Dr. Anthony Fauci, testified before the House's COVID Select Subcommittee nearly 2 years ago about emails he'd sent in February 2021, claiming that he'd learned to make emails disappear after he received Freedom of Information Act requests.
Ever delete or attempt to delete a federal record?
No, but let me explain why. When I came there in 1998, we were instructed to delete emails or to move them into PST files frequently because they jammed the computer.
The Justice Department says Morins used his personal Gmail account to exchange non-public information. The indictment also claims an unnamed co-conspirator gave Morins wine for his, quote, behind-the-scenes shenanigans then suggested he could push scientific commentary in a prominent medical journal advocating that COVID-19 had natural origins. That's a competing claim with the lab leak theory. The indictment says the co-conspirator could also provide meals at top restaurants in Paris, New York, and Washington, D.C. In April 2020, the NIH terminated that back coronavirus grant awarded to EcoHealth Alliance, who then contracted the Wuhan Institute of Virology to conduct that research in China. From the start of the pandemic, its president, Peter Daszak, worked to discredit any theory that COVID-19 had leaked from that lab.
By the way, I don't want to get off topic, but did you notice in the beginning of that video, there's a guy in the background in the first piece of Capitol Hill testimony. He's falling asleep. He cannot keep his eyes open. You ever... Folks, that's hard sometimes. If you're in these testimony rooms, right? It's warm in there, and you're not the one. I've only been the one testifying, so I don't really know. But you see this all the time. Don't sit behind the guy testifying if you can't stay up. This poor guy in the background. I feel bad for you. I'm not knocking you, brother. I'm not knocking you. I'm just saying, man, like, get this guy a cup of coffee or something. Jump him in the cold plunge or something. If you're going to sit back there, you gotta like Clockwork Orange the eyeballs, man. I just noticed that. I'm watching on the iPad right here. And of course, when I was cutting that, I'm just paying attention to the guy. Listen, I'm just here to tell you that when we walked in there at the FBI, Cash and me and the new leadership team, folks, we didn't have to like walk and chew gum at the same time. We had to walk, chew gum, juggle flaming chainsaws, dodge rhetorical bullets coming our way, weed out leakers, fire people who had engaged in misconduct, rewrite the investigative guidelines, FISA guidelines, rewrite how we handled violent crime, rewrite threat banding and counterterrorism and counterintel threats. We had to rewrite the entire promotion system, get rid of the DEI stuff. There was a lot to be done. That is what you paid for. It's not a pat on the back. That's what you paid for. I'm just telling you that all of this was happening. The justice process happens slowly. It's by design. We're not the Department of War. You can't go in there and, pursuant to a command from the commander-in-chief, go and just knock off a target. That's not the way this works. You are going to see over the course of weeks and months, even more, that's happening. So we can't title the next show, It's Happening Again. So we're going to have to retire that. But if you folks in the chat have a suggestion when more stuff happens for a title, I would love to hear it. Because we can't use It's Happening Again. Because the doomers want you to believe nothing is happening. Why? Because they want us to lose. They want us to lose in the midterms. Why do they want us to lose in the midterms? Because they want to run their preferred non-MAGA candidates in 2028. And they want to say, look at the damage that's been done by this president. We got smoked in the midterms. Everybody hates him. Screaming and yelling. That's what they want. Why would they do that? Because many of them are being paid and will be paid as consultants for candidates who are going to run against the MAGA movement from the right, not from the left. I promise you, flag it in the chat. Mark this episode. You think I'm making this up? Good luck. One of us is going to be right. One of us is going to be wrong. And I can tell you who's going to be wrong. It's you I'm pointing at. They want us to lose. That's why they keep doing this. Flags in the chat, tearing it up. That's why we had that dude in the chat, bro. Nothing's ever gonna happen. What happened? They always say it doesn't matter. You arrest him. Why didn't you arrest the other guy? Then you arrest him. Well, why didn't you arrest that? They want us to lose. They keep telling you this. Movement's dead. Nothing's going on. Crime rate collapsing. Border control. The economy moving again. Oh, I got that. The Iranians are now trying to desperately figure out a way to get their oil out of the strait because their whole system is collapsing. The UAE just dropped out of OPEC. We got a great number of wins coming out of the Supreme Court. You got inflation relatively under control. Manufacturing index is going up. You have your tax cuts from Trump 45, now solidified in Trump 47. No tax on tips. Things are going pretty darn good. The lib media and the doomers are going to tell you, well, we're going to get absolutely destroyed. We're going to lose every single seat in the midterms. Folks, listen, I don't know what's going to happen in the midterms. I can just tell you that the polling data doesn't say that at all. Here's a generic congressional ballot. Generic congressional ballot, meaning you want Democrats or Republicans in Congress. Now, if all the doomers are correct, Democrats should be at like 70-30. Here, 2026 generic congressional ballot. By the way, fellas, this is Harvard-Harris. Josh, you think that's a big right-wing outlet, Harvard-Harris poll? Josh is saying, no, I don't think so, man. I don't think so. Harvard-Harris, registered voters, Republicans, 50%, Democrats, 50%. Likely voters. Look at that, Josh. Republicans, 50%, Democrats. I thought we were getting killed. I don't know what happened. Folks, this is the receipt show. Let me just say in advance, I don't know what's going to happen, okay? You ever say the Eckhart Tolle power of now? I only live in the now. The future hasn't happened. The past already happened. I know what happened in the last presidential. I don't know what's going to happen in midterm. However, I'm just telling you, people saying, oh man, it's over. Everybody's pissed off. Everybody hates the administration. Nothing's happening. That's not what's happening in the real world. The prediction markets too. Kalshi saying Republicans, and these, by the way, these are people with skin in the game in the predictions markets. Breaking, Republicans are now favored again to hold the Senate with a 51% chance. Kalshi politics. That can't be, fellas. That can't be. The doomers told us it was over. Receipts. There you go. There you go. You just don't count this guy out. This guy meaning President Trump. Did you see this guy yesterday? He was just like, he had the king at King Charles. King of it. We don't have kings here, contrary to what the left wants you to believe, which is kind of weird because the media, did you guys notice the media was fawning over an actual king, King Charles, while like protesting the no kings they don't want a king. So they love a king, a real king, but like a fake king, they're trying to make it to a real king who's not a real king while protesting no kings. Like, does this even make sense? Do you guys even listen to yourself on the left-wing media? The president was on fire yesterday. I like our friends over in the UK, thanks, man. It was a great country to visit. Had a blast. I don't want a king. I'm not really interested. I'm glad he's here. He's very nice. He was very funny yesterday. But President Trump was on fire yesterday. A bit of comic relief. But this is why I don't ever bet against this guy. Stop with the doom and gloom. We have a damn good shot during this midterm if we just show up and vote. Check this out.
My mother, I just see it so clearly. She loved, and I told the king this, she loved the royal family and she loved the queen. And anytime the queen was involved in a ceremony or anything, my mother would be glued to the television and she'd say, look, Donald, look how beautiful that is. She really did love the family. But I also remember her saying very clearly, Charles, look, young Charles, he's so cute. It's my mother. My mother had a crush on Charles. Can you believe it? Amazing how, I wonder what she's thinking right now.
It's not the comedy hour show, folks. I'm not funny. I don't try to be funny. I'm certainly not a comedian. Either is Donald Trump. Don't ever, who said it? President Trump was hilarious. Who said that in the chat? Lynn and Jeff, I see you in the chat all the time. Lin, Lynn. Don't bet against this guy. We got Muttley's in the chat fired up. Do not bet against this guy. And folks, the counter narrative to all the success, this isn't so much the doomers. The doomers just tell you nothing is happening. Okay, so forget them because then when it happens, they just move on and pretend they didn't say it. The liberals, progressives, and the just kind of Trump-hating left wing, which is pretty much all of them. There's very few kind of sane Democrats left. You got maybe Fetterman, and that's really it. Whenever Donald Trump and his administration do something, like the SPLC case, they crack down on fraud in Minnesota, you'll see a couple things happen. Number one, put up that cash tweet. You'll see left-wingers try to take credit for the Trump administration's work when they're not pretending it's just lucky. Thank God Cash clapped back at this yesterday. Governor Tim Walz, they haven't done anything but incentivize this fraud. He's like, today's raids by state and federal law enforcement happened because our state agencies caught irregular behavior and reported it. Really? Cass is like, come again? The FBI and DOJ with our DHS partners drafted and executed every search warrant today. But go ahead, Timbo, and take credit for our work while we smoke out the fraud plaguing Minnesota under your governorship. Nice. Very good. Very good. But when they're not claiming credit for the work Donald Trump did on violent crime and elsewhere, just from MySpace, they're claiming he's lucky. So we have the segment we do because there's an election coming up. Listen, it's not luck, okay? It's just period, full stop, maybe not period, like exclamation point. This is not luck. Donald Trump has a plan. The plan is being enacted. The enacting of the plan is resulting in very good things. Whether you believe that or not, I don't care. I was there. I know it. It's true. So you can go roll that in a ball. But even if you did believe, there he is. Even if you did believe that this is all luck. Wait, put him up again. I love that, Lucky Trump. And it's Lucky Trump. I'm sorry, guys. Outside of Muttley, this is my single favorite graphic these guys have ever produced. I can't even it's hard for me to even get to. Even if you believe Lucky Trump, who goes to the slot machine and hits the jackpot every single day, 300 plus days a year, even if you believe that, wouldn't you want to go gambling with that guy? You're like, man, this guy's like, I got this friend. I play, I'm a terrible blackjack player. I'm just not good. I have fun, Paul, and we don't bet a ton of money. We go to like the $25, $50 table, whatever it is. It's fun. We just have a good time. Have a couple drinks, play a little blackjack. Every time I go with this guy, I win. I don't care he's just lucky, so I play with. Even if he was lucky, don't you want to be on that guy's team? Here's Lucky Trump again. Had a huge major arrest. We had a major arrest of an enormously powerful drug figure in Mexico. This is, I don't know, the 20th or 30th of these they've taken down. Top Jalisco cartel leader with $5 million U.S. bounty on his head, captured while hiding in a ditch in Mexico. When was this, guys? Oh, April 28, 2026. What is today's date? The 29th? So that was what? Yesterday? There we go, guys. Lucky Trump again. This guy's amazing. There he is, Lucky Trump popping in. I love how they put him in at different angles, too. He comes in the corner, Lucky Trump. From the bottom. He comes in from the top row. We need Lucky Trump given the people's elbow sometime, too. Here's another Trump, and he had no plan for the straight at all. Wall Street Journal article. Really, it's amazing how he just keeps getting lucky and how the Iranians only have about 13 or 14 days or so. U.S. blockades pushing Iran toward extreme measures to keep pumping oil. I thought they didn't have a plan. There he is, Lucky Trump coming from the top corner now. He's coming right, he's almost upside down now. That's him from the top ropes. I thought he didn't have a plan. So you mean they blockaded the strait, the Iranians can't get their oil out, the oil is essentially backing up the system, and they can't siphon off the oil, they don't know where to put it, so they're resorting to extreme measures? I thought he didn't have a plan. Lucky Trump from the top ropes again. Drug lords going down, fentanyl deaths dropping 20%, crime rate the lowest in U.S. history, homicide rate lowest in U.S. history, borders sealed, 0 illegal migrants for multiple months entering into the country. Just crazy. Who did that Trump day? This is the best part about a live show. This is why I tell everyone. People ask me about podcasting all the time. Like, should I go live? What if I say something stupid? I correct it later. It's fine. You got to go live. You got to go live, and you have to. It's got to be a family. It's got to be. That is the benefit of live streaming. You got to be live. It's real. Like, you got chatsters like you guys. You're the best. Here's Lucky Trump again. You know what? Put up the Bloomberg article if you can first. Again, he just keeps getting lucky on the economy, too. I don't know what's happening. I want to gamble with this guy. U.S. core capital goods orders jumped by the most since 2020. Date, April 29th, 2026. I'm pretty sure that's today. This guy, man. This guy, it's incredible. Mr. President, can you do me a favor? I play blackjack in some of the casinos down here once in a while. Mr. President, would you mind coming down, playing blackjack with us at some point? Here's another one. Here's CNBC yesterday. Certainly not the biggest fans of Donald Trump. Here's CNBC's Rick Santelli yesterday, noting that the Richmond Fed Manufacturing Index, in other words, stuff we produce, the numbers popped really high. crazy. Guy just keeps getting lucky. Check this out.
You see Richmond-fed manufacturing. Everybody continues to, of course, monitor to see if onshoring and some of the issues of manufacturing are picking up a bit. This particular read is better than expected for April. We're looking at 3 versus an expectation of 1. That's the high water mark of the year. As a matter of fact, you have to go all the way back to February of 25 to find a positive number of 3. To find a higher number, you're back to April of 2022.
Man, get this guy at the poker table. I don't play poker. I know how to. I'm not very good at that either. But you see why I see why it's exhausting dealing with the doom and the gloom and the liberal media. Everything's so awful. Everything is so tough. We had 9% inflation under Joe Biden. Just a couple years back, folks. This wasn't like, the time of like Kit Carson and Davy Crockett, okay? This was just a couple years ago. You had 9% inflation. That was the peak. You had tens of millions of people illegally sneaking into the country. You had the George Floyd riots, crime breaking out. You had the chop zone in Seattle where you had a group of lunatics like, we're taking over an American city. This is not that long ago. You had the Russians snub their nose. You had equipment, billions of dollars of equipment left behind in Afghanistan for a terror group to take. This just happened. And now you have where we are now. How do you even compare the two? Oh, it's just luck. Good. Come play cards with me. And please do not, it's long, it's all Trump. Please do not expect the left to change. I was on Will Cain's show yesterday on Fox, about 4:20 or so, A-block appearance. And I said, guys, listen, please don't be under the illusion now that we're ever going to get back to, quote, normal. We are not. The left is now fully embraced psychotic rhetoric. They will never apologize. They don't care. They really don't care if President Trump is the subject of multiple assassination attempts and is the subject more. They don't care. If they cared, they would change their behavior, and they're not going to do it. Here is one of the most prominent Democrat voices anywhere in the world. This is the minority leader in the House, Hakeem Jeffries. The new Pelosi, right? Just not as smart. Here's Hakeem Jeffries. He's asked about this manifesto by the suspect in the assassination attempt this weekend. Maybe it's a good idea, you being a prominent Democrat, considering like political violence impacts people from, both parties in politics at some point. Maybe it's a good idea to read this. I mean, you are supposed to be, a respected political figure and a voice of reason, correct? Here he's asked a question, a little bit of a mumble in the beginning. But I didn't read it. He just doesn't want to. Of course he read it. He just doesn't want to acknowledge he read it because then they'll have to take responsibility for this, and they don't want to. Check this out.
Made a reference to the president as a pedophile, a rapist, and some of your own members have made some very similar comments on the House floor. We don't think that perhaps may have been, these comments may have incited perhaps this alleged shooter?
I haven't had an opportunity to read the manifesto. The defendant should be prosecuted to the full and complete extent of the law.
Folks, this he's just full of shit, okay? I promise you, if that manifesto was a guy trying to breach the magnetometer checkpoint and the manifesto said, I'm here to kill prominent Democrats because he was some kind of, Tea Party guy or something, Hakeem Jeffries the manifesto would be everywhere. My point is they're never going to change. Put up that Wall Street Journal piece about the wealth tax you put up before. They're never going to change. It doesn't matter how much facts and data smacked them and kicked them in the nuts. They are never going to change. The California wealth tax I've been telling you about, where they want to tax, wealthy folks in California and basically confiscate assets from them above and beyond what they pay in income tax, has already advanced. It doesn't matter that they've tried this and it's failed every single time. This thing is going to make it on the ballot. And if it passes, you are going to basically have your assets above and beyond the ridiculous taxes you pay in California confiscated. I promise you this. Remember this episode. I hate to ask you for multiple flags in the chat, but flag this one. Audience archivist Judy, remember this show. If this passes, this California wealth tax, and is implemented, I guarantee you, give it a year or two to settle in. I guarantee you, flag it in the chat, that this thing comes nowhere close to the projections of the tax revenue it claims to generate, because people are it's going to lose. It's been tried over and over, and it never works. It doesn't matter. They're not interested in facts. Having said that, this is a really serious topic. The show's always an emotional roller coaster. Thank you for all the flags there. Remember it. We're never wrong on this. Folks, the topic of abortion and the killing and termination of human life in the womb is something that's deeply, deeply personal to me. I'm going to tell you something. It's an issue that doesn't get as much play in the conservative ecosystem as it should. If we can't respect human life at all stages, then there's nothing human about. We're no different than animals. I got to tell you something. I can't understand for the life of me how, I don't care if you're a woman, you're a man, you're a child, when you're exposed to the horrors of what abortion really is, I can't understand how you would be like, that's okay. At a minimum, even if you are a diehard, like blue-haired, radical leftist, at a minimum, wouldn't you say, like, listen, it's really grotesque and horrible, but here's why I think it's necessary? I don't. I'm just saying, like, they can't even say that. If you have not seen this exchange, get ready. Put down what you're doing, please. This is important. I know some of you may be at work or elsewhere. Tell your boss, Dan said it's okay. Dispensation. I'll sign your attendance slip for the show. Congressman Brandon Gill is just a rock star. This guy is just incredible, out of Texas. I've known him for a while. Great guy. He's up on Capitol Hill the other day with this abortion advocate, and he just calmly and as cool as the other side of the pillow starts discussing what actually happens in abortion and asks this person up on the Hill, hey, which one do you prefer? Fair question. I mean, is there one that's, air quotes, better than the other? Folks, please pay attention to every second of this. It is worth your time. Check this out.
You're an advocate for abortion, for abortion policy. What's your favorite type of abortion?
I am an advocate for patients having access to the full realm of reproductive health care.
But do you have a preferred method of abortion that you like?
I do not.
Let me read through a couple different methods, and I want to get your take on how much you like these. The first type is called a suction abortion. This is when the cervix is dilated and a strong suction, 29 times the power of a household vacuum cleaner, tears the baby's body apart and sucks it through the hose into a container. Do you prefer that method?
I stand by my former testimony.
That sounds kind of gross, doesn't it? Sounds pretty gruesome. Do you agree? It does to me.
I stand by how I answered your question fully and accurately.
How about this one? It's called dilation and evacuation. Forceps are inserted into the uterus, grabbing and twisting the baby's body to dismember him or her. If the head is too large, it must be crushed in order to remove it. Do you prefer that method?
I would prefer to talk about the reason the hearing was called and the basis of my expert testimony.
It's uncomfortable to hear this, isn't it? It is. I think it is, because it's barbaric and evil. How about this one? It's called the saline injection. It's when a 20% salt solution is injected through the mother's abdomen into the baby's amniotic fluid. The baby's skin is burned off. The baby ingests the solution and dies of salt poisoning, dehydration, and hemorrhaging of the brain. Do you prefer that method?
I would prefer to talk about the subject of the hearing.
This is the subject of the hearing. This is about protests outside of abortion clinics. I'm asking you about abortion.
Whew. I'm obviously looking at the chat, and I think you guys and ladies out there feel the way I do. Chris 1 says, this breaks my heart. I cannot believe the horror these babies go through. Either can I. Chris won. A couple of folks in there made me cry. I'm sorry about the barbarity of having to even play that. I hope you don't have kids in the room listening. But actually, I think if they're old enough, they should hear it. Because you notice that these liberal pro-abortion folks seem so proud of their efforts, but they don't want to talk about what they're doing. That should be the first sign to you that they know exactly what they're doing, that this isn't misfeasance. In other words, this is malfeasance. This isn't, you see someone falling on the sidewalk and you don't help them up, misfeasance. This is malfeasance. This is malfeasance. In other words, they try to get up and you punch them in the face, and they know that. Folks, I am strongly pro-life. If we can't defend human life from conception to natural death, then we're no different than animals. That was hard to take. I know that was a lot for the show. There's always a lot. We get in the show, you're not going to change hearts and minds by covering up what's actually happening and saying, well, let's sanitize the language. Let's bleep this out. No. Brandon Gill did the right thing. Explain to them exactly what they're doing. And if you are a liberal watching the show, I noticed your first response when you confront liberals about the barbarity of abortion. Did you guys notice this too? Their first response is rage. And this isn't going to sound crazy, but I've noticed it too, especially in my campaigns for office, because I would get into debates about abortion all the time at county fairs and else with liberals who'd come up to me and knew who I was. Honestly, I don't think they're mad at you. Of course they are. No, I'm dead serious. They're acting mad at you, but they're really mad at themselves because they know they support this barbarism, and they're mad at themselves, and they just need something to take it out on, to take that emotion away from themselves and plant it on someone else. It's like a transference thing for those of you who took psychology in graduate school. They're mad at themselves for supporting this. You will never see a liberal get more verbally aggressive with their rhetoric, ever. You will never see it than when you confront them about the details of what happens in an abortion. Try it. Watch what happens. Just be careful, because I'm telling you, they get really, really aggressive. All right, I'm going to take a quick break, and on the other side of this, I'm going to get to some new pictures that emerged. The Washington Post got them of the attempted assassination, another one of President Trump this weekend. And there's a couple of things I want to talk about from my perspective, having done this protection space for a while. It's important. We need to keep this president safe. That's it. Period. Folks, I've been talking about preparedness for as long as I've been doing the show. It's because I believe in it. I live it. There's no excuse not to be prepared. No one's coming to save you. But I guarantee there are folks out there who still don't have an emergency food supply or water filtration or backup power. I don't know why that is. Well, now, as in right now, like today, it's time to get prepared and take that anxiety off your plate. My friends at My Patriot Supply are making it easier and more affordable than ever before. They've launched these incredible family preparedness starter packs. Pick one up for every member of your family today. Here's what the kit gives you. It gives you an emergency food supply that feeds your family for an entire week, okay? Plus all the preparedness gear you'll actually need in a crisis, like off-grid cooking gear. You're going to have to prepare the stuff. Water filtration, very important. Not going to survive long without water. Backup power. You're going to need power. You're going to need comms and more. For as little as $100 per person. It's in stock and ready to ship right now at preparewithdan.com. Please don't wait. Take this one simple, affordable step to make sure your family's protected with essentials. Go to preparewithdan.com to see everything included. Prepare today. Please don't wait. That's preparewithdan.com. Take that anxiety off your plate. Okay, so the Washington Post put out this article this morning, right before we dropped on the show, and they have some clearer images of the middle checkpoint magnetometer area for that tragic incident that happened this weekend, another attempted assassination on President Trump. Headline video shows moment Secret Service officer fired at correspondence dinner suspect. So you'll see from these pictures that they appear to have detected 4 muzzle flashes, meaning 4 rounds. If you're listening on Apple and Spotify, you can read the article yourself. However, it's a video show. You'll see in the lower left-hand corner of the 4 images in the kind of multiplexed layout there, you'll see the muzzle flashes on these. Now, there are a couple of things I know that jumped out to a number of people as these images emerged early on. One of them is the crossfire situation. You're not inaccurate, and I'm going to address that in a second. But first contact with this suspect is obviously here very chaotic. And we've addressed the questions earlier in the week when we were discussing how the middle perimeter, there's going to be an after-action report on this, on was this middle perimeter of the magnetometer, was it too close to the event? I heard Director Curran was given just a quick interview with the reporters. He was walking out of Capitol Hill. And one of the things he had mentioned is that there was a reason, and he mentioned it was classified, that the perimeter was compressed into that specific area. I have to take him at his word there. That happens sometimes. I told you about the site I did in Ohio at a factory with really dangerous tools. There was no way to expand out the middle perimeter. Everybody had a utility knife, a screwdriver. We had to compress it. We didn't have a choice. So I want to hear what he has to say about that, because there may be a very good reason. However, a couple things about the imagery here. I think going forward, and this is just my humble opinion on the matter, I think what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to better strategically place personnel at these checkpoints under the assumption that if there is first contact and an engagement that requires deadly force, that's what this was. The officer, agent at the scene is discharging a firearm using deadly force. They're going to have to better place personnel at these checkpoints so that a crossfire doesn't develop if there's first contact. Was it just because they were breaking the equipment down? I don't know. Again, anybody can Monday morning quarterback anything. But you can see yourself, obviously not the most ideal situation. So I think they're going to look into that. And one of the other things, just keep going through this image. You can split screen or whatever you want. But I think another thing they're going to have to look at is a serpentine style entrance like you would do with motor vehicles coming into a site. You know how these sensitive sites, in order to prevent a car with a car bomb from getting ahead of steam, they put a serpentine. They'll put some blockades in this manner so the car has to slow down to go around, right, to get in. I think they may want to consider at these magnetometer checkpoints, again, giving it a serpentine style, maybe with some ballistic protection, so that a subject like that can't run without being impeded at some point. If they're, dead set on running through it, they're going to run through it, but at least slow them down temporarily. And time is your best friend. Time gives you time to react. There's always going to be a fog of war. That's why I'm hesitant to criticize first contact situations, because fog of war is always there. However, you need to buy yourself time, and a serpentine style entrance would do that. Another thing I think would be really appropriate here is that middle. Notice the magnetometer is the middle perimeter. You're like, well, if that's the middle perimeter, what's the outside perimeter? The outside perimeter, they tend to use surveillance assets on the outside. It can be locals, it can be Secret Service assets. I think they really need to expand that. Basically undercover agents. It's not a secret. They use them. It's been out there. And you're just engaging in general counter surveillance, looking for people watching you, looking for people acting suspiciously. The subject may have been picked out or picked off sooner if he was confronted in that external perimeter by an undercover agent who may have seen something, or may have seen him, say, in a closet or a bathroom putting this weapon together. Just an idea. Again, do with it what you want. It's going to require resources. There's no doubt about it. Another thing I think they should consider is what's called PPD, the Presidential Protective Division. Those are the bodies specifically assigned to President Trump, in my case, President Bush and President Obama. That detail, you see these movies about the Secret Service, and I think there's a perception out there that the overwhelming majority of Secret Service agents are on protection assignments. They're not. A lot of them are out in field offices doing criminal work, which is a whole other issue I've already addressed. I think they should take a look at that. However, I think they need to dramatically right now scale up the Presidential Protective Division. Pull some of these agents out of the field. When I first got on the job in 1999, you only had to do about 5 or 6 years in the field before you were eligible to go to PPD, the Presidential Protective Division. That changed. By the time I had left, you had to be in the field, 9, 10 years or so. I think that has to change. I think you have to dump the time requirements down dramatically, scale up the Presidential Protection Division, maybe give it a while before some of these agents can work the shift right around the president, because that's where you have to be really dialed in and have a lot of experience, and maybe start using some Presidential Protection Division agents outside of just the body men and put them outside with the poststanders. Why would you do that? Because these are the guys and women on the detail, on the PPD, who understand how it works. And I think they would make decisions quicker. I know that sounds crazy. They've never done that before. But if you took agents at an earlier point in their career, extended the Presidential Protection Division assignment out to 5, maybe even 7 years, and you started using them on the outer perimeter, middle perimeter too, to work with field office agents who are out there, I think you would get a better response. One more thing I just wanted to mention about this too. Supervisors in the Secret Service and the federal government are GS-14s. Usually get hired as a 7 or a 9. You can get a promotion, or you're not a supervisor, but get a promotion up to GS-13, 13 to 14, and then 14 to 15, 15 to SES. Those are all managers. They should look at it every checkpoint instead of 114 kind of roaming around, a supervisor at every checkpoint as well. Because that middle checkpoint is where you really need to hold. Once they get in and breach that inner perimeter, it's a strict evacuation. You better hope you can get out of there. Just a couple of ideas, throwing it out there. I appreciate the work they do every day and salute the bravery of the CAT guys and the shift guys who did an evacuation there. But we can always do things better. Okay, a couple more things I want to address, folks. This is my public service announcement of the day to parents. I brought this up multiple times. This 764 and these child predator threats are very real. We saved thousands of kids locked up, hundreds of child predators. We had multiple operations when I was there, Operation Restoring Justice, Enduring Justice. These were areas very close and sensitive in my heart. You have to be really, really careful with your kids. I'm not telling you to, force them into a sealed room and take away every device ever and don't let them look at anything ever. Don't let them play a video game. I'm not telling you that. I'm just telling you, if you're going to allow your kids onto platforms like Roblox and elsewhere, and where there are chat rooms, and a lot of these platforms have done a lot of good work in trying to eliminate vehicles by which child predators can contact kids there. I want to acknowledge that. But there is still a risk there. I saw this story at Breitbart yesterday, and I'm telling you, I would hear these every single day in briefings on these violent crimes against children cases. Horror, a private school employee in South Florida, has been charged with grooming children on the video game Roblox and paying in-game currency in exchange for sexually explicit images of themselves. Please find someone in your family who's tech savvy. And make sure that if your kids are on these platforms, games or elsewhere, where there's a chat feature and people can contact them, make sure those settings are super strict to limit anyone contacting your kid, because once the grooming process starts, folks, it is very hard to stop until there's an arrest made. And by then, in many cases, it's too late. And here's what I mean, and this is the hard part to discuss. Once these images are sent, and say a child sends these explicit images to this groomer who contacts them via these platforms, we've had multiple cases of children who've committed suicide and killed themselves because the person tells them, like, this is out there and, I'm going to do this if you don't do that. And I'm not talking about 1 or 2 cases. I'm talking about a lot. So I'm just asking you as a friend, if your kids are on these platforms, they can have all the fun and enjoyment they want, but get someone who's tech savvy to please take a look at this. It is really important. I've got a couple announcements. Friday, we will not have a show. I have I have to take a trip on Thursday. I was really trying to make the Friday show happen. There will definitely be a show tomorrow, Thursday, same time, live right here. But I have to do some traveling. It's very important I make this trip. I was really trying to make the Friday show happen. And like Fetch from Mean Girls, I'm sorry, I can't make Fetch happen. So there'll be no show on Friday. You always have Vince and Haley. You always have Haley at noon. You got Vince at 8 a.m. every single day. So you'll have your share of Bongino Inc. content out there. But I will be off on Friday because I can't. I tried. I really tried my hardest. But I will definitely be here tomorrow. There's always a lot to cover, as you know. And I'm waiting today. Hopefully we'll get a Supreme Court decision on TPS, temporary protected status. If they shoot this down at the Supreme Court, folks, and people are allowed to stay here under temporary protected status, where they wrote into the law no judicial review, and a judicial review says there is judicial review, then laws just don't mean anything. This is a really important case. Hopefully we'll get something today, and hopefully I'll be able to address it tomorrow. Thanks so much for tuning in. Please download the Rumble app. It is absolutely free. Give us a follow while you're there. Or you can go to rumble.com/Bongino, click that follow button. Join us every day for the chat. We love having you here. It's like a big family. I will see you back here tomorrow at 10 a.m.
I'm Haley Caradia,
host of Vince,
host of Scrolling with Haley.
You can always catch my show right here
on the Bongino Report.
Live, 8 a.m. Eastern, weekday mornings.
Weekdays at noon. If you miss it, no worries. The show will always be
right here
and anywhere you find podcasts. Thanks for watching.